think this is the right time when COP29 is just around the corner, although this dialogue is not just the first of its kind.
It's called the Munich Climate Insurance Initiative, which specifically looks into insurance and non-debt introducing financing tools.
We have all these processes going. We are now going for COP29. So I'm looking at what civil society actually can push there.
IDF, loss and damage fund mechanisms, and new collective quantified.
It is now being renamed as being for climate change. That poses a problem because that completely negates what you're saying from the very beginning.
As you mentioned, so this COP is, every COP is important, it's its own self, and interestingly, before every single COP, actually, when we are preparing for it and the international community is preparing for it, and we actually come up with a number of new kind of terminology, not new terminology, but a kind of a new ways of expressing the importance and emphasizing the importance of every single COP. Sometimes it's the most critical point in the history of the COP, other times it's a reflection point or inflection point. And similarly, the number of the other kind of a technical gap that has been used. So, without really denouncing the importance of the COPs and they all have been actually steering the process forward, they have been pushing the process forward, and that's why we are at a stage actually we can talk in some kind of a sensible number in terms of the limitations and the quantitative limitation on greenhouse gas emissions, the targets, and similarly this has actually translating into the numbers in the climate finance as well. Now, I think there are a couple of kind of scenarios which we need to take into consideration. And I'll be a little bit kind of hesitant to raise a very definitive number in terms of the gaps or in terms of the flow of the climate finance which is globally happening, because of a very fundamental reason that the global community has been shying away, successfully shying away to come up with a globally active definition for climate finance, and that actually has put us in a situation where the numbers actually varies from, especially for the climate finance flows, the number varies from something around 1.3 or 1.33 trillion and down to around $200 billion. So depending which definition, functional definition you want to take out of the toolkit, and you apply and you can come up with any number which falls somewhere in between. Now, I think the one way of looking at it is that maybe the number is not important and we do not really have to be too much worried about it. As far as there is this kind of a common understanding that there's a need to be done, and the need is very big, it's kind of a humongous need, and then the other thing is the financing to match up is just not there. You know, we talk a lot about the public finance, the concessional finance, and the non-concessional and the private sector finance. I think it boils down to some things very, very simple, and the point that whatever number we want to take out of the basket, the number is the amount of the money or the quantity of money or the capital is not available, even if you look at it into a kind of aggregate or cumulative fashion, both from the public financing as well as from the private sector capital, which the global community has been able to mobilize. Now, this is a kind of a gloomy picture. This is like a very pessimistic view of it, and it's not driven by the intention that okay, we should say that okay, there is no hope and we should delete the so we cannot do much about it. But I think the one I want to bring an element or a flavor of positivity into it as well. That yes, the one thing is that the targets which we are trying to achieve, which is in the emission reductions or tapping the global temperature between 1.5 to 2 degrees centigrade, and then aligning that okay, what kind of climate action need to be triggered out of it. And then actually matching the numbers and come up with some sensible, some quantifiable numbers. So this is what is I believe and some of the work and some of the development which is actually I'm seeing in the pre-COP. This is also pre-COP, in several pre-COP sessions which are actually happening globally as well as, but most prominently what is happening in the UNFCCC process. And they are actually reviewing the information, they are synthesizing the information in the climate finance, in the new quantified the targets which they are going to be coming up, and then they are also synthesizing the information which is coming out of the NDCs, and then further crunching the numbers out of the NDCs. I think to me that is the most reasonable, rational oriented and the scientific way of looking at it. Anything else is just going to be the hot air which with the passage of time is just going to be evaporating and not really giving us any sensible way of moving forward. Now, this is a rather long introduction, Zainab, for your very specific question. But I felt the need to do so just to lay out the context. And the both sides of the coin, both the pessimistic, but the other one is more, slightly more kind of a positive oriented. Now, I think what I believe is, some of the information which has been come to the surface and come to the public. What I am seeing is there is at the next COP there is going to be a very strong demand, and there is going to be a very strong pressure that the numbers, especially within the loss and damage context, the numbers need to be scaled up, and they need to be scaled up significantly and dramatically. Otherwise, it is going to be very difficult, and I think the developing countries should not leave the corridors, they should not leave the meeting halls without having a very concrete decision on that. Having said that, and what is that decision? I think it just cannot be in a definitive term, but it can be up to the level of definity that whatever the amount of climate finance is flowing right now, there has to be 100% or 200 or 300% increase, some X amount of the increase, and a concrete commitment which need to be coming from the developed side, developed countries. I think this is something which need to be addressed, which need to be at a minimum, which need to be achieved at the next COP. Now the other thing is, I think within the loss and damage, I think the one debate which need to be brought back into the discourse, and Sheikh Saab is here. I'm sure that he's going to be talking either in an agreement manner with me or disagree with me. Either way, it's going to be beneficial for all of us. But I think in the entire debate, in the entire discussion and the negotiation on loss and damage, we have lost quite a fundamental and critical element of it, which was related to the liability debate. I think that is not the original decision, but that debate has to be brought back in. Otherwise, it is going to be just a kind of a populace or a kind of a fund which is not really based on any kind of a fund commitments. There might be some money actually put into that, but it's not really going to be sufficient, not going to be sufficient for the needs. So the numbers coming out of the quantified numbers, I think they need to be based on matched up with the climate action, and then some scientific rationale need to be established, which basically shows or establishes how to view that climate action, and then the financing need to be brought in a more scientific manner. And I think I personally believe very much that the compensatory or liability or whatever term we want to use, that need to be brought back into the loss and damage debate, because otherwise it's just up in the air, it's hanging, it's not really providing much guidance. Thank you very much.